Lindsay's been telling us about this mandatory evacuation order that's in place for the northern Manitoba town of Lynn Lake because of a wildfire that's threatening to cause a power outage that could last for at least a month. Meantime, new evacuation orders are in place for 5 different communities in Saskatchewan. This comes as nearly 500 active wildfires are burning across the country, and in some of the provinces, the majority of those have been started by human activity. So for a closer look this morning, I'm joined by Ken McMullen. He's the president of the Canadian Association of Fire Chiefs and the fire chief for Red Deer, Alberta. Good morning. Thanks for getting up early for us.
Well, good morning. It is early indeed.
Well, fires caused by humans, we know, are not rare or unusual. But in some provinces this summer, like Saskatchewan, 80% we're learning have been caused by human error. So what are the most common types of human activity that can lead to these massive wildfires we're seeing?
Well, there's a combination of causes, and you know they do take time to fully investigate and understand. However, to your point, we have certainly been able to indicate that there have been some very obvious human-related causes to these fires. There's most common are things like unattended campfires. Using those fires, not putting them out thoroughly at the end of your fire. That's one of the main causes that we're seeing. However, there's other things such as the use of fireworks. We just had Canada Day, and we absolutely saw the impacts of the improper use of fireworks in some of these provinces. Some of the other causes are vehicles, the off-road vehicles. There's a reason when they put those bans in place, there's a risk to having vehicles, off-road vehicles, in areas that just aren't prepared for it at that time of the year.
Yeah, and I think people forget that. They think about, being careful if you're smoking outdoors or if you're around a campfire. But the ATVs that you're mentioning and the sparks that can cause because it is so dry in provinces, especially out in the prairies where they're experiencing drought, those are also included in the ban. There's also a number of investigations this year into arson as the root causes for some of these fires, particularly when you look at Saskatchewan and Manitoba. Is this a common occurrence, or are you starting to see a growing trend?
Well, it's really difficult to tell year over year as far as how many of these causes are set intentionally. It is extremely alarming. It is concerning. It is absolutely inappropriate. However, we have seen again this year in 2025, we are seeing some of these fires are intentionally set. For a whole host of reasons yet to be fully determined, but we are seeing arson. It's hard to believe.
Chief, how is that determined, the difference between an accidental human error and one that is intentional like arson?
Yeah, as an investigator, there's a lot of things that we can do, and one of those things is talk to people. It's amazing what people will come forward with when they're part of an investigation, and quite often people will give us information about a person, sometimes a friend or somebody that they know who has now gone and talked to about it, being the one that started the fire. So that's one of the ways that we can determine it. You had mentioned the cigarettes still to this day. I wish I had the ability to pull people over and ticket them every time I saw that cigarette get thrown out of a car window. The inappropriateness of that is just off the charts.
Some provinces we know have fire bans or they've canceled burning permits, and they've even added curfews to campfires. But how much of a difference do these measures actually make?
The reality is that we do start to see more inappropriate behaviors in and around the safe use of fires as the night progresses. And we could probably all suggest that it probably has to do with the ability to have more alcohol between the beginning of the day and the end of the day. And so we just have seen natural behaviors occur where the risks taking later on in the evening do have a significant overlay as to the likelihood of a fire happening in those communities. So to summarize that, there is absolutely a correlation between putting a restriction on times of use, proper use of backyard fire pits, and the overall effects of the amount of fires being caused as a result.
I always feel like it adds insult to injury when we do these stories about tens of thousands of people who've been evacuated from their homes. Some people lose their homes or they come back to find their communities permanently changed. And then we learn from a fire chief like yourself that it was a fire caused by human error. It's great to have you with us this morning. Ken McMullen, president of the Canadian Association of Fire Chiefs and the fire chief for Red Deer, Alberta, a place where I used to live and work at RDTV. Chief, thanks for being with us today.
Great to see you. Have a great day. You and your listeners, please stay safe.
Thanks so much. If you like that video, make sure to subscribe to the Your Morning YouTube feed, where you can find all kinds of new content posted every weekday morning.